Theon. Theon Greyjoy is one of the most tragic characters in the A Song of Ice and Fire series, a man who is caught between two worlds, yet never truly belonging to neither. In the books, he reads as though he is a man who is lost, a person searching for a place to call home and an identity that feels real. In many ways, this was because he never truly felt like he had a family and was always alone. Whether he was in Winterfell or the Iron Islands, Theon was always an outsider.
You know what it's like to be told how lucky you are to be someone's prisoner? To be told how much you owe them? And then to go back home to your real father?
Theon's tragedy actually begins from the moment that he is taken from the Iron Islands as a boy. Because when he was, it was not as an honored guest, it was as a hostage. In Winterfell, Theon was a living guarantee that his father would not rise against the Iron Throne again. And though Eddard Stark treated him with a measure of kindness, Theon was never truly one of the Starks as a kid. Ned Stark tried to be kind to him as much as he dared, but for the most part, he kept his distance, understanding that the day may come that he would need to kill Theon if his father ever rebelled. Theon reflects on this in A Clash of Kings, thinking to himself, Lord Eddard had raised him among his own children, but Theon had never been one of them. The whole castle, from Lady Stark to the lowliest kitchen scullion, knew he was hostage to his father's good behavior and treated him accordingly. Even the bastard Jon Snow had been accorded more honor than he had. This passage shows us that throughout his childhood in Winterfell, Theon always felt like a prisoner, never truly feeling welcome amongst the Starks. His story is one of a man who struggles to belong, a man who struggles with his sense of identity in the world. Even when he goes home to the Iron Islands, he is rejected by his family, and even his father shuns him and can't even bear to look at him. It's really sad because in A Clash of Kings, Theon is looking forward to returning home, expecting to be welcomed as a returning prince and embraced by his father. But Balon barely even recognizes him, and even goes so far as to shame him, saying that Theon is not even iron-born and not really his son.
He's your son.
Son? He's not a man anymore.
Theon thought that he could finally belong amongst his own blood, but he is seen as a foreigner even on the Iron Islands. Not only did he never belong with the Starks, but he also doesn't belong with the Greyjoys. And so his story is one of him trying to figure out who is he. Theon's desperate attempt to prove himself by capturing Winterfell only leads to his capture by the Boltons. Once again, Theon finds himself as a prisoner. But this time, he is not the ward of an honorable man like Ned Stark. Instead, he finds himself in the clutches of Ramsay Bolton, the sadistic bastard of the Dreadfort. Ramsay tortures Theon, physically and psychologically, until he transforms into a creature named
REEK. My name is REEK.
In the books, Theon's transformation into REEK is far more tragic and painful to read. He endures a lot more torture than he did in the show, and what makes it even worse is that in the book, his torture is more psychological than physical, lasting for years. Ramsay uses starvation, isolation, and torment to force Theon into adopting the identity of REEK, a personal pet of Ramsay's who is basically like a toy of torment, an object that is lesser than a dog. In A Dance with Dragons, Theon's physical condition is so much worse than on the show because he is described as a skeletal figure with rotten teeth and broken fingers and toes. Ramsay even flays Theon when he doesn't listen, peeling off his skin until Theon begs for him to cut off his fingers. This is why Theon is missing fingers in the book. It's heartbreaking and difficult to read, and throughout the entire book, Theon struggles to remember who he is. He once again struggles with his identity. In many ways, Theon's transformation into REEK is a metaphor for his eternal struggle with his real identity. For his entire life, it's the one thing that he has always wrestled with. Am I a Greyjoy or am I a Stark? A ward or a brother? Am I the prince of the Iron Islands or the vilest of turncloaks? Ramsay's torture removes the illusion of these choices and destroys the very idea of Theon as a man completely. He literally loses himself entirely, and his whole life struggle culminates into a horrifying reality that perhaps he is nobody at all. In A Dance with Dragons, he thinks to himself, he did not know who he was, or what he was, why he was still alive, why he had ever been born. Theon, a voice seemed to whisper. His head snapped up. Who said that? All he could see were the trees and the fog that covered them. The voice that had been as faint as rustling leaves, as cold as hate. A god's voice or a ghost's. How many died the day that he took Winterfell? How many more the day that he lost it? The day that Theon Greyjoy died to be reborn as REEK. REEK, REEK, it rhymes with shriek. This passage shows just how hopeless Theon is, how he is completely in a state of emotional and existential despair. He cannot even answer the question of who he is, and when he hears his name in the wind, it's almost like a confrontation with a part of himself that he has tried to bury for so long. The fact that he describes the name as being cold as hate just further shows his own feelings of guilt and shame, how he feels like the gods of the North are silently judging him. He can't even confront the name Theon, and he can't bear to even think of it. He quickly goes to the name REEK to reassure himself, a name that he associates with pain and terror. The only existence he now knows is that of torment and agony. But at the end of the book, Theon manages to redeem himself. It is through JEYNE POOLE that Theon learns to find himself again, at least acknowledging a part of himself that is human and good. JEYNE POOLE comes to Winterfell as a slave and a plaything for Ramsay, much like REEK is to him. But Theon learns to confront his fear of Ramsay through helping JEYNE. He shows true courage and bravery when he decides to help her, defying his master and finding himself again. He put a finger to her lips. We can talk about that later. You need to be quiet now. Come with us. Come with me. We will take you away from here, away from him. Her eyes widened. Please, she whispered. Oh, please. Theon slipped his hand through hers. The stumps of his lost fingers tingled as he drew the girl to her feet. This moment is a defining moment in Theon's redemption arc, and in this scene, we see him bravely encourage JEYNE POOLE to come with him and escape the castle, even though he knows how much it puts his own life at risk. In this scene, he also openly calls himself Theon, showing that he has finally found himself and accepted his true identity. He says to JEYNE, "You know me. I'm Theon. I'll be right beside you." It's one of the greatest moments in A Dance with Dragons. Theon truly redeems himself in this moment. Theon's story in the book is more tragic than in Game of Thrones because his pain is far more psychologically detailed and his suffering is much more drawn out. At times, it's very hard to read through it because it is so descriptive and vivid and real. It's not just that Theon is being tortured physically and psychologically by Ramsay, it's also because Theon himself is so lost and unsure of his own identity. and his torture at the hands of Ramsay just makes those feelings worse. In the books, Theon is a man who doesn't truly feel like he belongs anywhere, a man who doesn't truly know who he is. His entire arc is about a man who is struggling to find himself and to redefine his identity. It's because of this deep feeling of alienation that Theon ends up doing terrible things, like killing the Butcher's boys and betraying Robb Stark. However, I think that by the end of A Dance of Dragons, he truly begins to find himself again when he decides to help JEYNE escape from Winterfell. Not only does he reject the idea of being REEK, an animal that's not even a human being, but he also discovers that he can be heroic and brave and good. And it's through this discovery that he begins to redeem himself. Or does he? What do you think about Theon's character in the books? Do you think that his story is more tragic in the novels than on the show? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. If you like this video, click the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel for more content. Thank you so much for watching the video. Peace.